Blessed be everyone. Welcome to another YouTube Live. Today we're talking about shadow work. Welcome to all of those who are on the chat. Welcome to those of you watching the replay. And I'm just going to allow a little bit of time for people to get onto the chat. In the meantime, if you want to comment, if you're watching the replay, certainly still comment in the comments field. And for those of you who've already joined the chat, join in and comment. You can just say where you are, what you know about shadow work, what you think shadow work is. That's always a good way to start, because there's a lot of different understandings about shadow work. So I wanted to talk about where shadow work is in this day and age anyway. So what else was there I wanted to say before we dive in? I think that's about it. So particularly for those of you who are new, welcome to the Mystery Witch School and welcome to my channel. What we are going to do here on this channel is talk about all things to do with Wicca and witchcraft, including shadow work and tarot and magic. We talk about rituals, deities, all types of things here. And this is really a place for you to come to not only learn new things, but also just to feel like you're not alone in the world. When I came back to the craft after having sort of gone into some other traditions and a lot of inner work, I was watching YouTube. Would have been back in 2010. So it was quite a long time ago. And the reason I went back into watching people talking about witchcraft back in those days was just to sort of feel like I wasn't alone again, because I didn't have a tribe and I didn't have a community. I'd been away from all of that. And it was just nice to hear other people talking about it again and to connect in that kind of way. So that's what the channel is here for you to learn, and also just to feel like you're not alone. So even if you do know all this stuff already, it just helps to know that you're not the only one out there who's practicing this. Now, if you have ever wondered why certain patterns keep showing up in your life, or if you felt stuck trying to maybe work on limiting beliefs already, you may have already started on the inner work journey, or just working on, or just not being comfortable with things about yourself. And that's not like the dark side of yourself, the evil side. This is the side that is like, maybe you'd like to be more confident. Maybe you don't like the way you don't speak up for yourself, or maybe you don't like the way you take a long time to come up with a response, when really you feel you need to come up with it sooner, because you're umming and ahhing about whether you should or whether you shouldn't, whether there's a lot of self-doubt there. So shadow work, or what we're talking about today, can be very helpful for all of those things. And it isn't always easy, but it's one of the most rewarding adventures you'll ever take on your journey here on planet Earth. And I wanted to talk about what shadow work is today, why it's important, and how you can start integrating it into your spiritual practice straight away. And I wanted to also incorporate working with Hekate, for those of you who love working with Hekate for shadow work, because she's an amazing deity to work with for shadow work. So we're going to talk a lot about Hekate as well. Before we get started, though, I just wanted to let you know that there's some free resources here on shadow work. I have a masterclass called How to Heal Your Shadow Through Balancing Your Energy Centers. There's a link in the description field below this video. And there is also a link that I'm about to pop into the chat for those of you who want to know what is in the chat. And that is a masterclass that talks about what shadow work is and how you can utilize your chakra work and balancing your energy centers while also working with your shadow at the same time. Because at each chakra, there are various different beliefs and energies that we accumulate there that create blockages and interference in that chakra. And shadow work is a way to help clear those chakras of all of that energy that is stopping the energy from flowing the way that you would want it to flow through your chakras. Our emotions are energy, and it's our emotions that tend to block the energy for us. So it's helping us understand where those emotions are coming from, which is usually thoughts and beliefs, and what you can do about it. So that's that masterclass. And for those of you who are interested in the topic of witchcraft and you want to walk the witchcraft path, but you just don't know where to start, I have a free masterclass called How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice, and I'll pop that in the chat, and it's also in the description field below this video. Now, both of those courses, those short masterclasses also relate to courses that you can take from there. So I'll talk about those at the end. Okay, so hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Brandy. Hello, Raspberry Moon. Hello, Shane. Welcome. Okay. So let's get into the topic of shadow work. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about what shadow work is and how it impacts your personal transformation, your spiritual transformation, coming back to who you are, and then give you some tips, some techniques that you can use to do shadow work, and then working with Hekate, how you can work with her when it comes to shadow work. And if you've got any questions or anything along the way, please don't hesitate to drop them in the chat. Or if you are listening to the replay, drop them in the comments field. Hello, Spirit Rodeo. Hello, Kelly's Creative Dreams. Merry meet. Okay. And we are still in a Mercury retrograde as well. So all sorts of wonderful things can happen. So, first of all, understanding what the essence of shadow work is and what the impact on your personal transformation is. The path, the witchcraft path, Wiccan path, whatever brand of witchcraft, it's traditional witchcraft or a particular type of witchcraft, it's a magical path, and it's a path of connection to ourselves. It's a connection to nature. It's a connection to animals, to plants, and it's a path of empowerment. It's a path that reminds us that we are here to create. We are able to create in this earth plane. And this plane doesn't have to be a plane of grim suffering and trials and tribulations. This plane can be whatever we want it to be. We just have to remember and know how to make it what it is that we want to be. And part of the reason we're even here is to learn to do that and to remember that that's what we're here to do. And the witchcraft path, the magical path, all of the different forms of magic, all the different magical schools, genres, techniques, they all basically affirm the same thing, that we are what in modern day language are co-creators with the universe. And a lot of that is to do with knowing what it is that we want and knowing how to create that. Now, one of the things that often gets in the way of us creating the life we want to create, being happy, being joyful, being peaceful, feeling free, is our beliefs about ourselves and these other unconscious things about ourselves and the way that we react to the world, the way that we perceive the world. And this is where the shadow work part comes in. Now, you don't have to do shadow work to be a witch. It's not a part of witchcraft, really, in more the traditional sense. But when you start to understand the deeper understanding of magic in general, you will see it's a very big part of the magical tradition. It's a very big part of the mystical tradition and the whole spiritual path. So, what shadow work is in this day and age is the things about ourselves that we aren't aware of, unconscious aspects of ourselves, our personality. This can include our fears, our traumas, our desires to shape our life, to change our behavior, to change our reactions. And it's not just those parts of ourselves that we're not aware of, it's also parts of ourselves that we are aware of. We just wish we didn't have them, or we are judging as being a really bad thing. And when we're judging things within ourselves, we also will then project that into the outside world and then judge everything outside of ourselves as well. And that just creates more problems for us. When we can confront these parts of ourselves we don't like, when we can realize that we have, everyone has shadow qualities, some in some areas more so than others, that we all have them. As human beings, we all have a shadow side. No one is good and wholesome. We all have this within us. And when we can understand what our shadow is and we can see it clearly in ourselves without loathing it, without shame, without judgment, then we can start to truly accept ourselves and love ourselves, which then automatically means it's easier for us to accept what goes on outside of ourselves as well with other people and in the world. And we stop judging so much and getting ourselves into situations we may not want to get ourselves into because we've been judging other people or maybe interfering into other people's business. That really is none of our concern, because we're meddling or we're trying to put our own projections and judgments onto what we think other people should or shouldn't do. And this is all part of us getting to know ourselves and understand ourselves and get our own life in order, our own psyche in order before we even think about uh, diving in and meddling into other people's situations. Okay. Hi, Ali. Hi, Dwight. Okay. So the role of the shadow is really to keep us safe in the world. And we have these qualities like wanting to take care of ourselves, wanting to feel good about ourselves, wanting to be a part of community, wanting to have things because we want these things to survive in the world and to be comfortable in the world. And when we aren't totally in touch with ourselves and our needs, these things can fall into the shadow and rear the ugly head of becoming excessive. So that's where we can have that self care and knowing where our limitations are with regard to giving and receiving. When it's extreme, it can be selfishness, where we believe that we have to take in order to be safe, because there's somewhere in the past you've learned that if you give, you're going to be somehow destroyed or people are going to take too much, that kind of thing. And that's where selfishness can come in. It's a fear of not having enough. Narcissism is a fear of not being good enough. It's a really strong self doubt that you just have to put yourself out there as number one all the time and be in control of things all the time in order to feel safe. So, the whole idea of integrating the shadow is that we can claim these parts of ourselves. We can claim the parts of ourselves that need to say no at times, that need to not give, that also need to receive, and to also be confident within ourselves, know what we're good at, and be able to say that without feeling shame or guilt about it, or big noting yourself or anything like that. And when you can do that, you're integrating your shadow, and you'll find that those qualities are very strong qualities. They're qualities that keep you safe in the world, but also help you be able to navigate your way in the world to be able to create what it is that you're wanting to create. So when we're talking about integrating the shadow, it's about knowing why you might fall into selfishness if selfishness is an issue, or why you may fall into anger sometimes, or why you might be controlling or something like that. It's because you're feeling out of control. So it's learning to bring balance into your life, and whatever beliefs are there underneath the selfishness or the need to control or the narcissism or whatever, that those beliefs can change. And when you change those beliefs about not having enough, not being enough, then you will find that you'll feel a lot more confident in the world, and you'll be able to say no when you mean no, and you won't feel any guilt or shame because you'll know that you're coming from a place of this is how it has to be rather than a place of fear of somebody taking something from you or fear of not seeming good enough in some way. And this is about breaking negative patterns in our behavior. So we can dismantle those negative patterns. And whilst it's good to understand maybe where they've come from, going back in your childhood and going, yeah, okay, I come from a dysfunctional family and this was what happened. Yeah, that's where a lot of this came from. It came from our experiences as children with our families, with our school, with our culture, with religion. All of those things informed us of what we are, who we are in the world. And we assumed a lot growing up by watching the adults around us. And we learned a lot from the adults around us as we were growing up. And this does cloud the way that we do perceive the world. And there's past life stuff there as well. There's ancestral stuff there as well. And that's what we come in with. That's what we learn as children. And then as adults, we often have to go and rearrange a lot of this in our psyche in order to be able to fully understand who and what we are. And a lot of the reason for this is because as humans, we've really been in a very, very we haven't been in a very enlightened part of history. Like we've come through some real dark ages from a consciousness perspective. So these limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves in the world are coming out of where we've been as a species consciously for a very, very long time. And a lot of people, and I'm hoping that this does happen, is that we're starting to wake up to the fact that what we've been told isn't the truth of who and what we are, that we are much more powerful, that we are divine beings, that we are all an expression of divine consciousness, and that we have the ability to be able to create an experience. And that's why we're here. We're here to create an experience. And we will evolve to becoming more and more of that and to be able to create more and more of what we do want. And it's a very exciting time for that right now, even though we're going through the fire right now. It's a very critical time right now and will be for probably another couple of years. But we really are moving through a conscious evolution, and the shadow work is a part of that. It's a big, big part of that. And so is the magic. So if you're wanting to look into yourself and figure out, well, why do I keep repeating the same patterns over and over again? Why do the same kind of people keep showing up in my life over and over again? Why am I surrounded by narcissists? Or why am I always finding that there's people who want to use me all the time or take, or that kind of thing? Then when you do your shadow work, you'll start to understand why that's happening and why those people keep showing up and why you keep repeating those patterns. And it's all to do with your beliefs and your perceptions about yourself and the world around you. And it sounds simple, and it is actually, in theory, quite simple. But in practice, it is a bit of work. And I'm going to talk about what you can do about that. Okay, but we'll go back to, hi, Bodhi. Okay, Krishna. I think a lot of magical practitioners have always felt different. So feeling misunderstood is definitely an aspect of many of our shadows that we need to work through. Absolutely. And sometimes there's guilt and shame there too because of the religions we might have grown up in as well that vilify magic. And believe it or not, even though magic isn't a bad thing, somewhere in the subconscious there could be a belief there that's still hanging around. And it's good to change that. I had that belief. There was still a guilt and shame around being a witch. And it didn't come from past life. It came from my Catholic upbringing. Hi, Elizabeth. When working with clients, I've found that many people miss that they are carrying unsafety and insecurity from other incarnations and still caught in karmic cycles. Absolutely. And a lot of the things like the family that we're brought up in and the experiences that we do have in childhood are often a result of what it is that we've been carrying with us from past lives. And that's not a reward and punishment thing. It's just simply that's what we're carrying with us because that's what we didn't get to finish work-wise in past lives. Hi, Joe. I always felt that we're all narcissistic in some way or another. We have to be to survive. Do you feel only some of us are narcissistic according to a particular journey, or does everyone have different levels of it? Everyone has different levels of narcissism. We have to have narcissism to survive because narcissism is self love, it is self preservation, it is about the self. And if we didn't want to preserve ourselves, we would probably all be dead by now because we don't walk out in front of trucks that are heading our way. We there's things we don't do to keep ourselves safe, right? That is narcissism in the healthy sense of narcissism. We use narcissism a lot, I suppose, in a very negative sense because we're talking about the pathological form of narcissism as a personality disorder or something. But sort of stay away from, I guess, thinking that it's always pathological. These things have light and shadow. Everything's a polarity, and there's degrees, I guess, of self-love and narcissism, and it depends on whereabouts in the polarity someone sits. Okay, so things are self-love and narcissism are same in essence. They're just different by degree, if that makes sense. That's one of the 7 Hermetic principles. And all of these shadow qualities are actually necessary for survival on some level. So if you think of the shadow qualities as being on one end of a polarity, and what is the opposite end of the polarity, and that we're always shifting. And the goal of being on a mystical path or a magical path is to try as much as we can to stay in that middle part of the polarity and try to balance there a little bit so that the principle of rhythm isn't going crazy and swinging from pendulum to pendulum, from end to end like a pendulum, that we're kind of just in that nice little spot there. We're still going to swing. We can't not swing. Everything's in motion, but we're trying to bring it back into a little bit more of an equilibrium rather than swinging from pole to pole and creating huge swings, which are very, very unpleasant. Okay, how do you suggest one should grapple with that? Okay, feeling different, feeling misunderstood. It's about you ex- you accepting who you are and what you're doing, and also accepting where everybody else is at the same time. When you learn to love and accept yourself, it's easier to accept where other people are. So, for the people who do not understand you, and that will be the vast majority of people, it's about just accepting where they are. They're going to be where they're going to be. What's important is where you feel within yourself, and to have other people that you do connect with who do share the same interests as you and the same outlook as you, even if that's just one other person. It is important to have at least one other person who you can talk to about these things. And it's understanding that on the magical path, on this path, you're going to be in a minority. You're not going to be in the majority. And learning to be at peace with that, because we can't change that. Okay. I've heard that narcissism happens when one doesn't connect with their own emotions. They disregard their emotions. Uh, they're disregarding, yeah, they don't understand themselves, and they're disregarding themselves on a very, very deep level. They have on a deep level, they really do not like themselves. They really do not feel good about themselves. There's a lot of doubt there with them. And it's something we learn. We learn it growing up. So you may find that often people who do have narcissism, some other member of the family that they grew up with or whoever they spent a lot of time with as a child also was narcissistic as well, and they've learned that somehow. And a lot of us, when we've come from very difficult upbringings, will develop a higher level of narcissism because we needed it to survive the childhood. And as adults, then we have to go and try and integrate that into our adult uh, way of being in a way that isn't so negative or so harmful. And so accepting our narcissism is a part of that, and understanding why it's there and why we're using it and how to integrate that in a more of a positive, more empowering way rather than it rearing its ugly head in ways that can be very, very destructive because it is a survival mechanism. Okay. Thanks, Joe. So let's talk about what you can do when it comes to shadow work. A tool a lot of people like to use, and I use this occasionally, but I'm not a big writer, so I don't use it a lot, and that's journaling as a tool. And when you're journaling, there's ways you can have conversations with yourself. And I like to use the right hand, left hand method, where I'm asking the question with my right hand because I'm right handed now. If you're left handed, you could try the opposite and write with your dominant hand when you're asking questions and being more in your conscious self. And because you're wanting to connect with the subconscious part of you, use your non-dominant hand to respond. Now, the writing's probably going to be really horrible and almost illegible, and it may be difficult at first to even write. You may even find that you're writing backwards when you write with your non-dominant hand. It doesn't matter whether you're writing forwards or backwards. What's important is your non-dominant hand is going to be more connected to your unconscious mind. And so it's going to write in ways that are going to be a little bit more honest. So if you write with your dominant hand, the question, and then just allow yourself to write with your non-dominant hand, the answer, it can help give you some understanding of what it is that you believe. So if you're going through a difficult situation at the moment, maybe you're unhappy at work, you don't like your job and you're wanting to change your job, then ask yourself, what is it about this job I don't like? Allow yourself to answer it. And then, question the answers. What is, if this is true, then what does that mean? Is a good way to look at something. And when you say, if this is true, what does it mean? Especially if you're asking questions about the way that you're feeling. Like you may be feeling, I hate my job because I feel like it's meaningless, that I'm just wasting my time here, that I'm not utilizing my gifts or my abilities in the way that I could. But maybe you don't know how you could actually utilize your abilities to be able to earn a living at the same time. It's about questioning why you think you can't make a living doing what you want to do, and questioning those beliefs and allowing yourself to really look into what is that you're feeling and what your beliefs are. And when you find beliefs about yourself or the world, you can start to question those beliefs. And journaling can be a great way to do that. Another way is meditation. So if you're reflecting through meditation or through imagination, so this is where you can focus on allowing your emotions to just be there and observe them. So you're not getting into the emotion, you're just watching it. You're watching your feeling. And you may find that when you watch a feeling, you're feeling it in a certain part of your body. And that part of your body will be related often to a chakra, for example. So if you're feeling uh, say again, coming back to a job scenario where you're working in a job that you really don't like and you feel like you're wasting your life away, then where do you feel that in your body? You may feel it in the heart chakra. And that could be an indication that it's something to do with self-love, it's something to do with forgiveness, it could be something to do with loss or grief, those kinds of things around the heart chakra. And so you can start to look at, where do you feel a sense of loss? Do you feel that maybe you're letting yourself down because you're staying in somewhere where you don't feel you're where you feel you're wasting away, for example? And that's creating a certain sadness in the heart, because you're kind of weighing yourself down and not allowing yourself to be able to shine, because there's beliefs there that are telling you why you can't leave, why you can't change that situation. So it's not about, just up and leaving the job. It's about, what is stopping me from pursuing what it is that I want to pursue, and then what are the beliefs? And if you find a belief, you can then say, write down the belief, and then say to yourself, if this is true, what does it mean? And then allow your subconscious hand, your non dominant hand, to write the answer. And more often than not, when you keep asking yourself that question, with every belief that you get, the very last thing is usually means, I'm worthless, I won't exist, I'm not important, that means I won't exist, that means that I'm nothing. It often comes down to this fear of being nothing, this fear of being nobody, being nothing, or not being worth anything, not being lovable. And that's often underlying a lot of the beliefs that we have. And then you can really work with that fundamental belief of what's keeping you stuck. And it may just simply be, you feel you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're nothing, you don't have a right even to be here. Their beliefs right down in the root chakra. So by following your beliefs, you can see what they are. And when you can see what your beliefs are, then you can do something about them. But if you don't know what they are, it's very difficult to do something about those beliefs. And there's a lot of different modalities out there that you can use to change those beliefs once you see what they are. Reframing is one of them, where you take the belief. I like to take the belief and then put a what if in front of it. So if the belief is, I'm not worthy of doing what I really want to do, or I'm not good enough to do what I really want to do, then if you put a what if I am good enough to do what I really want to do? What if I am good enough? And to say that enough times can actually get your subconscious to consider that. It's like a suggestion, hypnotic suggestion, because you're putting a what if. You're not trying to force it to change. You're just giving it a what if. And that's a bit of a hypnotic suggestion to the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind likes to be suggested to, not told. That's why affirmations often don't work, is because we're trying to tell the subconscious mind what to believe. But if we suggest to the subconscious mind, like, what if? Then it will be more open to that new belief. Now, I know a lot of people who probably are aware of my tapping channel and who have worked with me with EFT tapping, that I love working with EFT to help change beliefs, because I found that personally to be the best thing for me. I also use meditation and imagination and visualization, and sort of magical processes as well to change beliefs too. But I always find that fundamentally it's emotional freedom technique or tapping that really helps change the subconscious mind, because you are calming the nervous system down, much as you would if you were going under hypnosis. And when the nervous system's calmed down, the subconscious mind is more available to change. And so you can then make these new suggestions to the subconscious mind when your nervous system is in a nice, relaxed state. So I use emotional freedom technique or tapping. So I do this work one on one with people when I do the coaching uh, on the shadow work. I use the tapping, I introduce tapping in my course, The Wheels of Empowerment, which is the course that goes with the masterclass, the free masterclass, How to Heal Your Shadow Through Balancing Your Energy Centers. So that is a course that you can do to work with your chakras and tapping at the same time. And I find that incredibly helpful. And that's why I created the Wheels of Empowerment, and also why I do uh, work one-on-one with people, because I'm using something that has helped me considerably. So if you are interested in the Wheels of Empowerment, do sign up for the masterclass, How to Heal Your Shadow Through Balancing Your Energy Centers, because that gives you a bit of an understanding of what it is about, and that's free. But the Wheels of Empowerment course is a follow-on from that. Okay. So using those techniques, hypnotherapy, NLP, EFT, theta healing. There's so many different modalities out there now that you can use. The silver technique. I've never done it. It's trademarked, so you can't find. It's not in the public domain. Like EFT is in the public domain, which it was deliberate. It was deliberately put in the public domain so that everybody could access it. And that's why you see so much of it on YouTube, because it is in the public domain. Whereas things like silver technique aren't in the public domain. So it's very hard to find out what that actually is. There's Psych K as well, which also isn't in the public domain, but they are apparently very good techniques. I haven't used them because they're not in the public domain, but a lot of people do find them incredibly powerful. So this is where you go and then search for various different techniques and modalities that can help you change your mindset. Now, you can do this with magic to some extent, and I don't mean do a spell to change your mind. I mean the actual spell process is a mind changer in and of itself when done regularly. So the spell casting process is where you have to put yourself in the wish fulfilled as if it's already happened, right? And often when you do that, there can be a little getting in the way of a feeling that, oh, I don't know how this could possibly be true for me, or how this could happen for me. And so that can reveal what your negative thoughts and beliefs are just by doing that process. But what the spell technique does is when you put yourself in the wish fulfilled, you're starting to change your subconscious mind's way of perceiving the world. And if you do it enough, you can actually change the way that you perceive yourself, because you're practicing being the version of yourself you want to be, which is the person who's experiencing what it is you're doing the spell for. Every time you do a spell, you are changing yourself, because to have what you want to have and do what you want to do requires you to be the type of person who has and does those things. And if you're struggling to have something or do something through magic, then that means you're not the person who has or does those things yet. And this work is a way of becoming that version of yourself. The version of yourself that feels confident, that feels like you do deserve to have what it is that you want, who feels you are good enough to have what it is that you want. All of those things. It's like you're creating a new you every time you do a spell. So you can use the magical process as well as these modalities to be able to change the way you feel about yourself and the world. So magic can be very, very powerful. A one-off spell isn't going to do it. It's a process you'd have to do every day as part of your shadow work process. So it'd be like you're doing a spell every day. But what you're really doing is just putting yourself in the wish fulfilled every day to get your subconscious mind used to the idea of being in that scenario. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. It seriously does not know. And you could probably know this if you've ever gone back into a memory. It could be a pleasant memory. And when you're thinking of that memory, maybe it was some funny thing you did when you were a kid, or something your dog did that was really goofy. And when you think of what they did, you actually can feel the emotion of it. Can feel the sense of joy and laughter from thinking back into that old memory. You're actually having that experience now, even though that happened in the past. And as far as your subconscious mind's concerned, because you're remembering it and you're visualizing it or hearing it, or depending on what your main sense is, your subconscious mind believes you're having the experience again because that's what you're imagining. And when you do this kind of work of clearing away the negative beliefs and then imagining that you are in the wish fulfilled and you're doing that on a regular basis, which is essentially magic, then you're really starting to change things in your life. Magic happens on an inner level. The magic's within us. It's in our experience of ourselves and the world. And the whole entire universe, what we perceive as being outside of ourselves, is actually not out there at all. All that's out there is energy vibrating at different frequencies. Our eyes pick it up, and our brains decode it. So it's all within us. Everything is happening within ourselves. And this is why it's so powerful. And magicians have known this forever. Shamans have known this forever, that the magic is within ourselves. It's not outside of ourselves. We've been led to believe magic's outside of ourselves through, television, Hollywood, and all of the myths around magic, that it's special powers that only some people have, and you've got to get these special powers, and you're manipulating the outside world. But it's really about us changing ourselves and being in the world we want to create through our imagination, and how that connects to vibration and energy. And this is something that's where a lot of people are experimenting with now through quantum science, and being able to come up with, truths that, the things don't really exist as they are until they're being observed. And we're learning a lot about the universe through our ability to be able to weigh and measure things in ways we haven't been able to do before. So, doing rituals to put yourself in the wish fulfilled every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes a day, so that you can build that belief within your subconscious mind that it's already happening. And your subconscious mind will then start to you'll start to notice things, you'll start to get ideas, you start to get opportunities, you start to behave in ways that bring you and what it is you want together. And changing your beliefs at the same time can certainly accelerate that. You can even do rituals, spell rituals to release beliefs too. And that's a place that's really, really great to work with Hekate, because I want to get on to working with Hekate. Okay, but I'll just go to comments first. Okay, for me, tension accumulates at the back of my neck and as migraines. So I think that it's mundane issues blocking me from accessing higher energies, and that frustration manifests as physical tension. Oh, yes, yes. So anything on an emotional level will manifest physically somewhere. And if you're in that emotional state long enough, it will manifest as some kind of a ailment, or possibly even a disease. So, from an energetic medicine point of view, more of a holistic way of looking at ailments and things, it's often at an emotional level that it started at. And so we need to go back and look at the emotions and what the belief is that's causing those emotions, because beliefs cause emotion, and emotion causes behavior, and it also causes tension in the body as well. And if it's at the back of the neck, it's probably your throat chakra, which makes sense, because if you feel that, people around you don't understand you, it's very hard to communicate then, and you may be holding your self-expression back, which is your throat chakra. And if it's at the back of your neck, you may feel that you're carrying a bit of a burden at the same time. So it's a burden to have to hold back, and a burden to not be able to express yourself in the way that you'd like to express yourself. So having a look at that and how you can unburden yourself. Okay. Yes, thanks, Tawny. I love EFT. Uh, Elizabeth, rejection and abandonment wounds are so profound. Anytime we feel stuck, it's about getting underneath that. I've traced my patterns and behaviors stemming from those wounds. Yes, yes. And these are things that can come from past lives as well as in this life. And often they have come through many lifetimes, and they can be ancestral too. And a lot of the time, if you're going on the healing journey yourself and you find you may be the only family member that's on this journey, that the rest of your family's nowhere near interested, often it's because you kind of volunteered to be the one to heal a lot of the ancestral trauma, not just for yourself, but also for your ancestors as well, because they will often be there, be present when you're doing this kind of work, because they'd like the healing too. Working with lapis lazuli to help strengthen the throat chakra. Yes, yes, that's a really great gemstone to work with for the throat chakras. Any of the um, blue crystals are good for the throat chakra. Lapis is renowned for it. Absolutely. So all of these techniques, the journaling, the meditation, the EFT, the rituals, the magic, can be done with Hekate. All you have to do is ask Hekate to be present to help you with these techniques and processes. I've got a video coming out this week on Thursday, Australian time, which will be Wednesday, probably for most of you, that is giving you a demonstration of a process that you can use with Hekate for this very thing. Now, Hekate is a wonderful guide. She's the goddess of the crossroads, after all, and shadow work is pretty much being at the crossroads. We're crossing, we're choosing what path do we want to go on. Do we want to go down the same one we've been on for years and end up in the same situation over and over and over again with the same people coming up over and over and over again? Or do we want to change and go in a different direction? So she's a very transformative goddess. She's the goddess of the underworld, but she's also the goddess of the higher realms as well. She's in 3 worlds. She's in the Empyrean realm, she's in the earth realm, and she's also an underworld goddess. So she's an undergod she's a goddess of all 3 worlds. So she's not just an underworld goddess, and she's not the scary, hairy creature she's often made out to be. She is one of her aspects is the savioress, as in, she is there to help us save ourselves, essentially. It's not that she's saving you, she's there to help you save yourself. And with Hecate, it is about becoming like her. She is a guide, and she is very, very keen on helping you if you want to help yourself. So if you are wanting to do a ritual with Hecate, do look out for the video that's coming later in the week. But the way that you can start that is to just open a simple ritual. You can light your candle, create your space. So create your sacred space, whether that's with a full circle or another method of creating sacred space, and just ask her to be present. Go, oh, Hecate. You can use some traditional chants to Hecate that you can find online that come from those very, very early times in Greece. There's lots of poems and invocations to Hecate online now, and so you can use one of those, or you can make up your own. You can just feel into imagining what Hecate might be like. So you could just imagine a woman holding torches. She might have a snake belt. She might even be holding a snake in one hand and a dagger in another, or she could just be holding the torches. However she comes to you. The torches are a great shadow work image because that's holding a light to the shadow and lightening the darkness so that you can start to see your way through it. And ask her to be present, and then ask her to help you uh, with your shadow work today. And it's really that simple. It's a matter of asking her to be present. Now, working with Hecate, it's good to build up a bit of a rapport with her first. So maybe every new moon or dark moon, you could do a supper or a dipnon with her. So this is where you would set up your ritual space, and you would offer like pomegranate or eggs and honey or wine to Hekate, and sort of connect with her every month for a few months if you're wanting to build more of a rapport with her, particularly while you're doing your shadow work. And on a daily basis, connecting with her as part of your daily practice, which is something that we do in Module 8 in the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy course, which is another course that I have where we're working with Hekate, particularly in that module, and you're working with her on a daily basis. And you're building that rapport with her. So even before you start your shadow work, you can build a rapport with her on a daily basis. This could involve chanting, this could involve just asking her to be present and giving her a daily offering. And a daily offering can be something very, very simple. It doesn't have to be wine every day. It could be even tea every day, just something to connect you to her. And the offering isn't really for her. She doesn't need it. The offering is a gesture of gratitude and a friendly gesture. Like when you invite somebody over for tea, you usually give them something. If somebody comes to your place, you usually give them a drink or something. You usually offer them something. It's just what we do. And so that's the same with working with Hecate as well. You're just offering her. You're offering her hospitality, I guess. And then ask her to be present with your shadow work. Do your shadow work, whatever that method is. That could be, you might journal one day, you might do some tapping the next, you might be doing some of that magical work every day, but asking her to be present to do that. And you may find that she will help you do that very, very fast and very, very quickly. So, in that process, so maybe in your journaling or maybe in your meditation, you're going to get some insight into what to do for your shadow work. Now, it could come up as a memory, it could come up as a feeling, it could come up as something you've been grappling with for a while, but she will bring it to your attention. And if you ask her to help you go through the process to change it and to release it, then she will help you do that too. You can do dream work with Hecate. You could ask her to give you suggestions or to give you some insight in your dreams by setting an intention before you sleep to receive an insight through your subconscious mind as you're dreaming. And you can also use her symbols too. I've talked about the torches that bring light to dark places. The key she's one of the key bearers, and there's so many key bearers in mythology and on this path that she has the keys to unlocking the truth of who you are, the keys to unlocking the hidden parts of yourself. And the key can be a very, very beautiful symbol to have, and you can use any key for this. Just a key. It doesn't have to be a special Hecate key that you spend a lot of money on. It can just be a key that you dedicate to Hecate. You could consecrate it and you could dedicate it to her and work with that key. Maybe sleep with it under your pillow if you're wanting to do dream work with her, for example. Wear it or just have it on the altar as a symbol of her. But she will help you. And it's as simple as that. You don't have to do a lot of elaborate work to work with Hecate. It's simply asking her to be present and being with her on a regular basis. And being with her on a regular basis is incredibly helpful because it develops a connection between you and her. If you're just doing a one-off with her, you're probably not going to get as much from it as you would if you say, okay, for the next 6 months, I want to work with Hecate on this, and I'm going to do it every day, and I'm going to follow her guidance. And she may guide you to people, she might guide you to places, she might guide you to books, she might guide you to techniques and modalities and all sorts of things to help you. And she will also guide you through experiences as well. And some of those experiences may be challenging. Um, challenge happens when you're doing shadow work because you have to realize what it is that you're trying to change in order to change it. And Hecate will often guide you into a situation where you are challenged in some way. But it's something you have the ability to be able to move through. It's a challenge you're able to meet. It's not one you can't meet. And that's a part of the process. It's coming up with a challenge. It's a bit like the hero's journey, where the hero's always got, or the heroine's always got, some sort of challenges they have to meet along the way. And the mythology is full of this, where they've got all these challenges and people that they meet and obstacles in their path, and they've got to navigate their way through this terrain before they get to the pot of gold or the grail or whoever or whatever thereafter, whatever they set out on their journey to acquire. They've got all of these things that happen in between. And often there's guides that they meet, there's people who present obstacles in their path, there's villains, there's all sorts of characters that they meet, and each one of these characters is a learning tool for them to be able to get to where it is they're trying to go. And Hecate can be very helpful with that. Okay. Hecate's been calling me, Juniper's Corner. Yes, I'll answer her call. She does call people. Hecate's torches help me bring light to the shadows so we can see them to heal them. Absolutely. Hecate is so helpful when we are not acknowledging that we truly need to change, and she will create a situation, yeah, that will make it quite clear. Then she can help transform it. Absolutely. Yes, she will. And she is lovely to work with her. She really is. I know that there's a lot of stuff out there on the internet about, Hecate being, "Oh, if you work with Hecate, you always have to work with her, don't do a dipnon unless you're gonna do it, every month of the year for the rest of your life." All that kind of thing. It's not true. I don't do dipnons every month with Hecate. And I still work with her for shadow work, and I still don't necessarily do dipnons every month. Uh, it's about, understanding that really understanding the deity and working with the deity and how the deity connect with the deity, not how somebody else connects with the deity or what their perception is of the deity. Because remember, when we're connecting, often we bring our own baggage to the table, and sometimes our perception of what working with a deity might be like can be just simply coming from our own projection. And sometimes people do that. I have never felt Hecate to be a dark deity in the sense of evil at all. She's beyond the human understanding of things. She's beyond the ego. So she doesn't have an ego, which means she doesn't care whether you do a dipnol every month or not. She's not jealous of you working with other deities. She doesn't have an ego. That's all ego. And people often project their own ego onto a deity. And I've heard people say that Hecate will be jealous of, if you work with another deity or something like that. And that's just simply not true. She's not like that at all. But yeah, I love working with Hecate. So I always work with her in shadow work. And yeah, so just letting you know, in at the end of the week, there will be a video on YouTube about how you can work with Hecate. Okay. Now, we do work with Hecate in the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy, which is the 12-month course on Wicca and witchcraft. Now, you don't have to be Wiccan to do that. A lot of people in the course are actually just witches. They're not necessarily Wiccan. It's just it follows a Wiccan format of learning because that's how I learned. And I find that the whole sort of the form of Wicca in an eclectic sense is very useful to work within because it gives you a framework in which you can practice rituals and do things in. So, whether you're a witch or whether you're interested in really interested in Wicca yourself, the Mystery Witch School 101 is about you getting connected to your path as a witch, connected to nature, connected to yourself, and connected to your true self, which means a little bit of self-reflection and shadow work in there, as well as learning to work with the different deities who can help you on your path, and that includes Hekate, as well as Lu and Breed for the Celtic contingent, and Isis, Osiris, there's Cernunnos as well, Belenus, the triple goddess aspect of the goddess. They're all manifestations of the divine that are there to help and guide, and they've all got their own specialties and in the way that they can do that. And the goal is to be like them. It is to be like them and to realize that we are like them. And often we gravitate to certain ones simply because that's where we're needing the help in our life. A lot of people really love working with Breed because that's where they are in their life, and they're really exploring those things. Other people then maybe move on to working with different deities as you go. So that's the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy for those of you wanting to walk the witchcraft path and wanting to walk the witchcraft path with me and others of like mind. Okay, so I've given you a few things today that you can explore, but just if you're just starting out and you're just wanting to know what these things are, for the shadow work, it's that free masterclass, How to Heal Your Shadow Through Balancing Your Energy Centers. And if it's witchcraft you're interested in, then it's how to start your witchcraft practice. Links are in the description field below this video. There's some also on my website, mysterywitchschool.com, under the freebies tab. That's where all the free stuff is. So have a look at that if you're just sort of starting out, because it just gives you a bit of an understanding of what's involved in the craft and what you can do in the craft, what your options are, what you can explore. And then if you want to explore further, there's ways that each of those freebies will tell you at the end of them how you can explore it further and learn further by doing more formal practices and more formal study with me and the Mystery Witch School. Okay, now for those of you who probably already know, last week I had a bonus offer on the Mystery Witch School 101, where there was a bonus course, which was the Witch's Guide to Magic, included in the Mystery Witch School 101. If you bought it, I still have that bonus going because I just haven't had time to take it down. So if you're still looking at wanting to join the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy, the bonus of the Witch's Guide to Magic is still going to be there till the 20th of August. So it's still there for you if you felt that you may have missed out, because you haven't missed out yet. I just haven't got around to being able to take it down yet. Okay, everyone, blessed be. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you again next week. We've got a full moon coming up tomorrow with the Mystery Witch School, where we will be celebrating that over Zoom. And it's a very powerful, very, very powerful moon indeed. The craziness has really, really ramped up, and we're going to be in for a very, very big ride astrologically for the next 5 months or more. So blessed be everyone, and I will see you next week.